Hello, beautiful folks. This is Freedom Fighter, and welcome to Goldilocks Global Banking News, your daily podcast on the facts on the RVGCR that you can vet for yourself and see proof that Goldilocks provides, whether it's directly from the U.S. Department of Treasury, that's the king of the RV, the global reset, whether it's from the CBI, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, whether it's from global finance agencies that are also over and overseeing the RV, GCR, or whether it's from direct governments that are involved with their currencies revaluing in the new financial banking system. This morning, I had my morning conversations with Goldilocks to go over the two articles, and they are amazing for this podcast. And we're going to jump right into it and with no delays. The first is going to be on Iraq and the latest developments with them, and then we're going to talk about the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Do not think because you do not have any Chinese currency that the Shanghai Stock Exchange isn't relevant. It is. Why? Because Iraq trades with them, Vietnam trades with them, therefore it is related. Let's jump on into Iraq. Goldilocks shares the first article. All right. The Supervisory Committee for the Restructuring of Raffidian Bank met. One of the topics of the major interest in the meeting was achieving financial stability. Folks, Goldilocks shares an article directly from the CBI and from the IMF to support this information. This meeting comes after a meeting with the IMF Article 4 consultation. One of the key components of this meeting was the following, quote, without policy adjustment, the risk of medium-term sovereign debt stress is high and external stability risks could emerge, end quote. What this is talking about, folks, the consultation that the IMF has been having with Iraq has been stressing the need for Iraq to have other revenue streams besides oil. Oil is 80% of Iraq's revenue streams. Okay? Goldilocks continues. Iraq has achieved great strides since the opening of their budget in 2023, but they still need to expand in revisions regarding their fiscal policies. Many emerging economies, Iraq is, folks, an emerging economy. Remember, we're looking for Vietnam to be upgraded to a market economy because Vietnam is also considered an emerging economy. But this is Iraq. Let's focus. Many emerging economies are beginning to realize that devaluation of currency leads to more public and governmental debt, along with imbalances in the private sector in pay. This lowers the GDP for a country and the values of currency over time. What Goldilocks is sharing here is with many emerging or less developed economies such as Iraq, they're beginning to realize that the value of their currency being devalued does not benefit the country. This lowers their gross domestic product for the country of Iraq. It is fiscal policies that raise the value of currency, creating a shift in a country's economy by boosting from within the economy's natural growth. So what Goldilocks is sharing is that Iraq has a policy to raise the value of the dinar, and also the IMF has been helping them with the procedures in order to do so. Many emerging economies are considering being part of a trade-weighted basket. This right here is so important. Pay attention to what I am about to share that Goldilocks is providing us. When it says many emerging economies are considering being part of a trade weighted basket, by pegging a trade weighted basket, debtor countries can reduce the effort on their international trade. The listing goes on a trade weighted index. Have you all heard of a basket of currencies? Yes, I'm sure you have. But the basket of currencies that many of you all have been hearing about does not exist. Many of you have been hearing that a basket of currencies is where you're going to have 10, 15, 20 different currencies that all go at the same time, and you're thinking that is accurate. That is not accurate. It doesn't exist. The true basket of currencies that does exist and is relevant to an RV and the raising in the value of currencies is this right here, what Goldilocks is talking about and sharing from Iraq and the IMF. I'll continue. Many emerging economies are considering being part of a trade weighted basket by pegging a traded weight basket. What that's talking about is, have you heard the term, the rising tide raises all ships? What this basket is talking about is when you have one currency, let's say currency A, and then currency B, C, and D are different countries' currencies. Well, currency B, C, and D individually are not strong, but collectively they are. Then let's say if Iraq is country A, let's say if country B, C, and D have currencies that are trading throughout the world. If you peg or you attach the dinar to those currencies, although the dinar is weak by itself, if it is pegged or connected to those other three countries' currencies, creating a basket of currencies, then the dinar raises in value because of the strength of the collective of that basket of currencies versus the dinar by itself and alone. So Goldilocks continues. A TWI, or a trade weighted index, this is a basket, in the average prices of several domestic currencies to come up with average prices for each currency rather than the single average of a currency standing alone. This would bode well with countries who join the BRICS nations in determining new price correlations for international trade. So what Goldilocks is saying is this bodes well with the countries who join the BRICS nations in determining new prices on their currencies because they'll be connected to a group of currencies versus being alone. This shift in focus towards raising the level of pay in the private sector is going to actually bring in more revenue towards the government itself, towards the government of Iraq. The result is a self-sustaining government reaching beyond dependence on oil. So this is resulting in gaining a self-sustaining government, reaching beyond being a standalone government only depending on the oil revenue. So this will allow the Iraqi economy can contribute to the boosting of its own economy, now being pegged to a basket of currencies. Now, several months ago, let's go back to actually November the 11th, 2023. Goldilocks shared an article that there was going to be a meeting where the U.S. Treasury, the Federal Reserve, was meeting with Iraq to discuss pegging the dinar to a basket of currencies or to a trade weighted index. Then, in March of this year, in Abu Dhabi, there was a meeting with the U.S. Department of Treasury, the Federal Reserve, the central bank governor of Iraq, the prime minister. They all met in Abu Dhabi, not in Iraq, not in the U.S. They met in Abu Dhabi, signed contracts to agree to a basket of currencies to be deposited into the banks of Iraq. The Turkish lira, which is the Turkish currency, the UAE dirham, which is the UAE currency, the British pound, the Chinese yuan, as well in the Indian rupiah. We're going to share in the link in the description those actual articles which will show you this was completed. The contracts were signed earlier this year with Iraq and the U.S. Department of Treasury, who we tell you is the king of the RV, the U.S. Treasury. So what we're sharing today, that Goldilocks provided these articles directly from the CBI and from the IMF. This is not new. This is the completion of what was started back in November of last year and contracts signed at the beginning of this year. Again, there will be links in the description showing you the basket of currencies that the U.S. Department of Treasury, king of the RV, signed with Iraq earlier this year. So now this report by Goldilocks is now sharing that they are moving forward with the IMF's blessings and the CBI to weigh the dinar against a basket of currencies. So as the dinar is lower in value, as it is pegged or weighted, attached to 4 or 5 other currencies. In fact, the UAE is a part of BRICS. Also, the Chinese yuan, of course, part of BRICS. Although the Chinese yuan recently has temporarily been suspended in Iraq, but there's other currencies that they will be weighted against as well. So the rising tide raises all ships. Just think of Iraq being on the lower end of the totem pole in value, but if it's pegged, attached to 4 or 5 other countries' currencies, they will raise the value, help to raise the value of the dinar, because they are more powerful. Like us as individuals, we are more powerful together than we are alone. Now, next, Goldilocks shares the Shanghai Stock Exchange recently revised and released 7 self-regulatory rules, including the rules of listing for stocks and guidelines for standardized operation for the main board in the star market. The Shanghai Stock Exchange recognizes that the market listings are changing to new digital assets that will be traded internationally. This move puts them in alignment to work with new digital economy, including the BRICS nations. These new rules will give guidance and standardization. Think rules, think laws, think legislation. It will give guidance and standardization on what listings can be provided inside their Shanghai Stock Exchange going forward. Why is this relevant to any of the currencies we have? Well, the Shanghai Stock Exchange, which is in China, is one of the largest stock exchanges in the world. And guess what? Some of the currencies we hold will be trading in this Shanghai Stock Exchange, thus helping the value of the currencies we hold as well. Remember, everything is connected to everything. All of these countries, when you have the leveling of the playing field, as they do trade amongst each other, the currencies that each country has, as they ditch the US dollar, their own currencies in these stock exchanges and trade around the world will begin to move up in value. So when you have Iraq as what's considered an emerging economy to be attached to other stronger economies, when the dinar is attached to other stronger currencies and other countries, it helps to raise the value and brings forth revenue into Iraq, which helps the value and the strength of their economy to be less dependent on oil and to also diversify their revenue. Now, this concludes the information that Goldilocks has provided, but understand and know, if you have questions, please feel free to come into the Goldilocks QFS Dialogues room. We will share whatever we need to help you. Please like, share, subscribe to this channel so we can continue to bring forth the facts, no fiction, directly from Goldilocks. Goldilocks Global Banking News. We love you. We appreciate you. Share some unconditional love with someone, and we'll do the same with you. Be well. Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.